And what better way to start off Season 5 of Game of Thrones than with asses and fire? Okay guys, welcome back. It is great to be back for Season 5 of Game of Thrones, the one show that has been a good consolation during the absence of The Walking Dead, although I have found Flash, which is a lot of fun as well. Lot happened last season. It was a great season. It was really good. We got to see the death of Joffrey. Obviously, Tywin Lannister had a blumpkin or something close to it. That's an old joke from one of my reviews last year. But this year, a lot of stuff is going to happen. A lot of things are just kind of seeping through. The first episode, I always find, tends to be like an introductory to all the characters. Kind of give us a little catch-up of what everybody's been doing since last season. So, needless to say, Daenerys Targaryen has a foothold on Mereen, or at least so she thought, and it seems like there's a little revolt starting up now, and we see Unsullied are getting murdered. And the interesting thing is the Unsullied going to the brothel. Obviously, they can't do anything, but who's to say that just because you don't have a Jimmy doesn't mean you can't have the comfort of a lovely naked woman next to you? Unfortunately, this guy met his demise, and, that starts the whole thing. Daenerys and Dario are still having their little affair, but he seems to be, at least kind of giving her some sort of advice. He seems to be the only one that could speak freely to her without her being, so cold or so stern, or at least have an assertive reaction anytime somebody else suggests something, like the gentleman that was having an audience with her about opening up the pits. She was very assertive about not doing it. So she obviously has some choices to make. Her dragons are out of control. She's got one flying around the world, two that are in the dungeon that have grown to quite large sizes, as well as become very aggressive. And because of her absence for such a long time, I'm assuming, they may not, you hate to think, or you would assume that they wouldn't forget who their mother is, but they're not in control. And even if they do remember her as their mother, they're obviously very pissed at her for, grounding them for the last year. So, Westeros, we see that Tywin Lannister is having his funeral, and Cersei obviously is just, right now, her head's everywhere. The opening scene, might I add, was very interesting. I knew right away it was Cersei when she was younger because of the way her hair was done, as well as her clothing. And we got to see the reenactment of the witch that gave her fortune when she was a child. We've seen her speak about this in the past, and we got to actually see it. And very interesting how some of those events are coming to pass. Now we have Marjorie, who's still one of my personal favorites. I do hope we get to see her a lot this year. We see her still kind of wooing Tommen, and he's falling for it. I mean, and why wouldn't he? She's beautiful. He's the king. He's going to be able to tap that soon. Yeah, hey, he's a kid, man. He's at that age right now where, yep, puberty's hitting, man, and that's his wife to be. So, and obviously Cersei, last year Tywin told Cersei about their gold running dry. They don't have the resources or the money to pay back the Iron Bank. They're depending on the Tyrells for that. Now that Tywin's dead, who's to lead this? Is it Cersei? Well, it would have to be. Tyrion is gone. Jaime is just a Kingsguard. So Cersei's got to, pretty much carry the weight of this. And I'm not so sure she's capable of making the wise choices or smart decisions that Tywin is. We'll see how that plays out. So we see that Tyrion, obviously last year we know that Varys and Jaime conspired to free Tyrion out of Westeros, and now he's in Pentos right now with Varys. I'm sure Varys will have to return to the capital soon, but it's interesting, Varys and Tyrion's relationship. Obviously Varys truthfully does have a genuine spot in his heart for Tyrion, but he can never publicly admit that, which is why last year during the trial, he pretty much shit on Tyrion, which kind of sucked, but he had to. He's told Tyrion time and time again that he himself is a coward and that he's not going to put his ass on the line, out there he's just not going to put his ass out there like that. But he is obviously striving for a better world, for a better kingdom. And he obviously is supporting Daenerys Targaryen. and he wants to get Tyrion to her. And I think the reason for this is because Tyrion's very smart. He's very good at politics. Daenerys is not. Daenerys is not good at politics. And I think that would be a pretty lethal combination, but I don't know how that's going to work. You know, I'm sure Daenerys is not a Lannister fan. She seems to know very little of what's going on in the mainland. She's so right now wrapped up with her own shit, you know, between what's happening in Yunkai right now in Mereen. I don't even think she knows what's going on. So she has no indication that Tyrion is even remotely, you know, the kind of person that she could trust. So we'll see how that plays out. Whether or not Varys's, you know, word will be enough for her, that remains to be seen. And even still, like, I know you book readers know this, but as far as what I've seen, we don't know what kind of relationship Daenerys and Varys has. Does she trust him enough to say, okay, yeah, let's chill with Tyrion? I don't know about that. You know, as he's never really been mentioned too much in that group. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Now, north of the wall, very interesting up there as well, because we see now Stannis is there. And Stannis, it's really weird. It was exciting last year when he came and he saved them and he beat the wildlings and he defended the wall. And that was great. And this is what I love about this show, is that one week you're rooting for somebody, the next week you could be wanting to fucking that same person to die in the same week, you know. So Stannis is that kind of character. Because there were times where I was rooting for Stannis, and there's times that I'm like, Stannis, just go away, please. Now it's interesting because the idea of Stannis having the wildling army and marching down south and taking over the lands, or not really taking them over, at least he says freeing them, including Winterfell. Yeah, that you know, if you're a Stark fan, you're like, yeah, definitely, let's get the Boltons out of there. But, you know, he wants the kingdom. I feel confident that Stannis, at least if nothing else, keeps his word. If he's going to free all these towns and cities and lands from the Boltons and give the wildlings land and free Winterfell, I think he would do that. I think he would keep his word. But what kind of king would Stannis be, really? You know what I mean? Especially with the, you know, Melisandre by his side, who is just a little cuckoo. You know, she tells she tells Snow, hey, you know, give me hands, feel how warm I am. And then she's like, are you a virgin? And he's like, no. And she's like, good. And I'm like, thinking to myself, what's the point of that? Does she want to fuck him? Because she seems to like want to fuck a lot of people sometimes. But interesting stuff there. And we'll see how that plays out. Mance Rayder, obviously too proud to kneel. I can understand that. I think both him and Jon had some excellent points. And Jon is just, you know, he's one of those, I'm surprised he's still alive. He's such a good guy. Good people don't last on this show. Him and Tyrion right now are very, very fortunate. But he has mercy on Mance. He shoots him with an arrow at the end of the episode. And it'll be interesting to see if there's going to be any repercussions for that. Stannis does consider himself a king. Obviously, he's going to act like a king. Will that be insubordinate on Jon Snow's part? I don't know. I would think that Stannis would act on it, or at least question him. So we'll see if Jon Snow got himself in a pile of shit. So overall, I thought it was a solid first episode. Again, they went around the table. They showed everybody. They kind of picked up where things left off with the funeral with Tywin Lannister. And, you know, there's still things to come. You know, the Mountain had this crazy surgery last year. We're going to see what's going on with that. He becomes like a zombie or something. Obviously, we look like we're going to be gearing towards a Tyrion Lannister and Daenerys Targaryen meeting. That's going to be very compelling. We got the dragons now. There's one flying free. There's two more that are fully grown almost in the dungeon. What is Daenerys going to do with these animals? Will she open the pits? Will she listen to Dario's advice? A lot of stuff really set up in this first episode. Very solid. I'm happy the show is back. I love this show. It's a lot of fun. Was watching season 4 over the weekend, and that was great. And I'm hoping that this season is just as good as the last. But and I think it will be. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Cersei's going to run the show. She's on her own, basically. I mean, Jaime's there, but, you know, we don't know what their relationship is like right now. It was very touch and go last year. She was shitting on him. He was pushing himself on her. We still got Brienne and Podrick, who just missed Sansa. They're talking about it. They just missed her. She was right there. and they didn't know. And Podrick, obviously very loyal. Brienne right now is like, I'm not feeling this. We'll see how that turns out. Whether or not they head north to the wall, that'll be great. I mean, that'll, you know, meet up with Stannis, but I don't know if that's such a good idea for Brienne. So, but anyway, guys, that's it for this Game of Thrones review. Please remember, if you've been on this channel for a while and if you've seen my Game of Thrones reviews, I do turn off the comments on the bottom. Well, I don't turn them off, but I leave them for review. I have a good buddy of mine that takes care of this for me because he's read all the books and he monitors the reviews. And if he sees anything that's spoiler, he will delete it. If it's not spoiler, it will be approved. So please keep that in mind. If you drop a spoiler, there's no guarantee you're going to spoil anybody. So that's it for this review. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. Join the Nation's Facebook page to meet other subscribers or visit E.T.N.'s Facebook page and Twitter page. Links for all are in the description.